So welcome to the third attempt at doing this. Welcome to the Monday stream once more. I've got a feeling I'm cautiously optimistic that I might have fixed it. I've got due to the way my house is wired, I've got a curious sort of little network gizmo that sends things through the mains power, and I've got a feeling it was not happy for whatever reason. So fingers crossed. I've now got a green light from Streamlabs, so maybe things are okay again. Can you let me know in the chat? Are we live? Is it working? Am I here? Do I exist? Please justify my existence for me. Hopefully we're here. It's back. Chris is here. Can you see me? Is the speed working? Have we got stuff going on? It's better. Yay! It seems okay. Was your house wired for internet prior to the normal conquest? Yay! Everyone's here. This is awesome. Okay, so I think I fixed it. Okay, so I've got it's one of those mains power adapter things. Because the way my house is wired, I can't get a Cat5 cable up to where I am. So I transfer the internet through, well, the network through the mains, a home plug. And most of the time it's absolutely fine, but every so often it occasionally just goes, nah, I can't be bothered. And I think tonight was one of those nights. So it seems to be better, because I can, normally if I can hear my wife's not basically knocking on my door going, my computer's not working, then it usually means there's a general problem with the internet. Whereas if it's just confined to my room, I have to think, aha, it's one of my gizmos. So anyway, so there we go. So I normally go through a routine of restarting everything before I stream, and tonight I didn't, because I couldn't be bothered, and I have paid the price. So apologies for that. Anyway, we're here. This is good, right? So yes, is my house wired by the Normans or the Saxons? I think it's a Cretaceous period actually. The internet is mine. Am I using dial-up 56k? Not much off different that. The best internet I can get here where I live is a mere 20 megabits down and 6 up. That's all I've got. So there we go. Anyway, so we were discussing whether or not when spoilers are no longer spoilers. Somebody suggested 50 years, which I feel is a bit long. 50 years isn't good. And there's been accusations that I've been overly mean to Maru in the Shadewood saga. So I'm gonna have to total up, okay, the number of injuries. I think we need to maybe somebody could do that for me. The number of injuries sustained by different people in Shadewood. Let's see what's this business with the horse in Shadewood? There aren't any horses as far as I know. At least there certainly shouldn't be, and if there is, it's definitely a typo, because there aren't any horses in Shadewood. So Glenn, Commander says that Drew, I just want you to know that my eating habits and health suffer on Mondays, because all I have time to make for lunch on Mondays are microwave burrito. So you're blaming me for your very, very unhealthy lifestyle on Mondays. I appreciate it. I feel I've achieved something now. A spoiler isn't really a time limit, but there's reasonable and unreasonable. So yeah, so if the book had come out yesterday, then spoilers, yeah. But the book my last Shadewood book has now been out for a year. But I do appreciate, for those of you listening on Audible, that book 4 is yet to come out. So that is a thing. I can certainly avoid book 4, but book 3's been out for quite a while now. Rule of thumb I've heard is 2 weeks since release. For books I think it's a bit longer. My bad eating habits are all your fault. So anyway, so at some point I think, and oddly enough, I've been doing a lot of Shadewood today, because I've been editing the audio for book 4. So that I've finished recording it. That's how far I've now edited. I'm about coming up to a quarter of the way through, I would say, of Shadewood. The editing is faster than recording, as you might expect. So I literally am editing at the moment. I've just finished. What have I just finished? Chapter 3. I've just finished editing chapter 3 of Shadewood 4. And nothing bad has happened to Maru, I don't think, in the Shadewood 4 so far. So I think he's okay. I think he was not in such a good place at the end of Shadewood 3, but he's okay. He's fine. Just so you know. So yeah, excellent. I can wait for this. Chapter 8 of Audible Book 3. I'm good. Okay, so I'm hoping to get Expiation out as soon as possible. It's kind of my number one thing I want to get finished at the moment, because it's easy to do. Because the nice thing about editing an audiobook is I can squeeze it in between everything else. Recording is a bit of a faff, particularly in the summer, because it's so hot. You can only really record at quieter and cooler times of the day, and of course, because I've got a family at home, being in the summer holidays, it's always somebody moving about, or the dog's barking or something, and it's actually quite hard to record stuff. So I'm kind of glad I've got the recording finished now, and I can now move on to the editing, because then the editing is literally, headset on and click, delete, click, shift, click, delete, click, edit, click, delete, keep moving, and eventually you get all that sort of stuff. Merlin West Coast, what is faff? Sorry, that's I have to remind myself I've got an international audience. Yeah, so faff is a bit of a nuisance. Okay, if it's a faff, that's the UK for a bit of a nuisance, a drag. I think it's probably the American version. Can we have a version where 1974 reacts live to Maru bullying? I was going to say, I'm just trying to go through in book one. Hang on, I'm just trying to. I can't, because it's been a while since I played with that story. Okay, so Maru does get chucked off his ship, I suppose, at the beginning. Then he almost gets eaten by something, doesn't he? But he's okay after that for a bit, isn't he? I think he gets some spears chucked at him. I think that's about it for book one. He's that's okay. Book two, I think there's definitely some things, some nasty things that do happen to him. Book two, okay, it was book two everyone's complaining about. Yeah, okay, so he gets nearly eaten. Nearly eating. I can't remember. I wrote it ages ago. Yeah. I think he gets nearly eaten by something, doesn't he? And that's probably we can't go too far, because Chris is going to basically say spoilers. So yeah, okay. So Maru does have some trouble in book two. That's fair. We'll stop for Chris, otherwise he's going to get So too many spoilers. So we can't discuss that until Chris is caught up. Right. So we'll move on. We'll move on. We're pretty much out of waffle time anyway. So there we go. But I'm going to total up the nasty things I've done to all the Shapewood characters, maybe, and put them in a spreadsheet. I haven't done that. Chris, Chris, tell us where are you? So we can. Is there anything we can discuss? Actually, I think Chris has gone. He's just in disgust. He says, "Nope, I'm out." It's only been 7 minutes. Yes, because the stream isn't very long, but we actually, in terms of actual elapsed time, because of the problems with the stream at the beginning, then we're actually 23 minutes in. The waffle time has been all about trying to fix my internet connection, but it seems to be okay, which is good. So there we go. As for waffle time, yeah, says the man who managed it for a whole stream. Yeah, I know. Okay, you got me. Yep. I really don't have a leg to stand on, which is an odd turn of phrase, isn't it? Because clearly I do have a leg to stand on. So that is a problem. Waffle time. Yeah, maybe I should have a little countdown clock on the screen with the amount of waffle time remaining. 1974. Take a drink every time Maru is beaten and we'll be drunk. The Maru drinking game. I like this idea. Take a swig every time Drew buffers. Yeah, that one's not going to be good. That one won't end well. Just waffle time. Ah, dear. Right, never mind. Anyway, all right, my stream is saying everything is good. Everything is good, which is encouraging. Okay, so let's head in the vague general direction of this. I think I need to apologise to Chris Viking, because I think he's gone. I'm hoping he's still about, just sulking somewhere and just cross with me. But anyway, Chris, if you're still there, hello, and I hope you're still there. We won't go into any spoiler territory anymore. So anyway, there we go. So there we go. Let's just appropriate any popular hashtag and stick waffles on it. Maybe that will go. Yeah, maybe that will go viral on the internet. Maybe it's like Bill and Ted. Your music. is the thing that unifies humanity. Maybe it's waffles. Maybe we've overlooked the solution. We've been overthinking this for way too long. You know, world peace and nuclear disarmament. No, it's just waffles. Waffles is what we need. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's the ultimate answer. Maybe it's not even 42. Maybe it's just waffles. I don't know. Ah, dear. Never mind. Anyway, it is lovely to see everybody on board. Now, what are we vaguely trying to talk about tonight? We're heading in the direction of the topic. Now, waffles lift, waffles lives matters. Dear. Waffle time matters. That might, we. Hashtag waffles too. We could probably, that probably gets into dangerous sort of territory, doesn't it? Anyway, right. So, moving swiftly on from all that complete nonsense into the topic du jour, the topic of the day. Now, this one is. I think we can have some fun with this one because I was thinking over the weekend because I've normally got a topic because I come off these streams thinking, what am I going to talk about next week? And then I usually during the week it percolates into my mind. I go, I'm going to talk about the thing that I've just thought about. And this week I didn't have one for quite a long time. And then we watched this film over the weekend. Okay. And I thought, got my topic for tonight. Because it was, and this needs some qualification actually. Probably the second worst fantasy film I've ever watched in my entire life. And that's going up against some pretty stiff competition, as you're probably aware. Because there are some pretty ropey fantasy films out there. But this one, I mean, we did watch it to the end, really only out of morbid curiosity. It was atrocious. And I got to the end of this film and thought, this got made. and nobody in the midst of the production of this film, went, stop. I'm looking and watching this film thinking, oh my God, no, you can't, you're not going to, you did. And it was just like, no, it wasn't Lady Hawk. It's not that bad. Yeah, well, no, it's worse. I thought it was worse. I will name and shame it after event because it's on the DVD that we got downstairs, and it really is a masterpiece of every single thing you shouldn't do, in my humble opinion, when you do a movie. It was diabolically bad, comedically bad, actually. No, I mean, things like Lost, Sharknado, I think it was one of these made for DVD type things. It's difficult. I'm going to have to do some research into it because I've literally just watched it and it was so bad I'm still still in therapy. But it really, and the funny, the worst thing about this is that it's part of a trilogy, and we have the other two parts, and we got it because my wife sort of spotted it in one of those bargain basement, video rental shop places, CEX I think it was, B movie I think is the correct phrase. Yeah, I think it's one of those made for DVD type things. It's not one that was certainly released in. It's definitely got dragons in it, JR 1988. I don't know if it's called Dragon Wars. I can't remember. But anyway, it'll tell you. No, it's way worse than Highlander. completely different level of quality than Highlander, I can assure you. Star Wars. If only it had been Star Wars. There's a YouTube channel where this guy does bad writing advice and gives reverse psychology advice on what to do, but what really not to do. Sounds like this man. Anyway, so let me sort of set the scene, okay? So the DVD box has got some dragons on it, which is okay, fairly staple thing for a fantasy universe, isn't it? There's dragons are generally okay. You kind of half expect them in a sci-fi universe. In a fantasy universe. Battle Beyond the Stars. No. Way. I mean, Battle Beyond the Stars is okay. All right, it's not great, but it's okay. This is subterranean compared to that sort of level of quality. So we're really doing into a Death Spiral dive here. So fantasy novel, okay, a fantasy film, and King Arthur. No. Way. Seriously lower. Okay. You've got to go down several elevator floors, okay, to get down to where we are. So yeah, Battle Beyond the Stars. I like Battle Beyond the Stars. Why are people dissing that? I like that film. I know it's extremely cheesy. It's got George Peppard in it, space cowboy, and I always liked that lizard guy. I don't know what his name was. Who's the lizard guy in Battle Beyond the Stars? I liked him. He was quite good. And then that sort of shared AI intelligence with a flying saucer, Nestor or something like that. I can't remember what they were called. But anyway, it was okay. All right, Battle Beyond the Stars. I'll give it 6 out of 10, which is probably a bit generous, but it's okay. It's okay. Carissimo says, "Good evening. Good evening." Dragon. No. Okay, so Dragonheart. Okay, with Sean Connery in it. Dragonheart is actually, I think, quite a good dragon movie. It's a very derivative plot, but the dragon was done all right, and it was okay. Man Monksel says Blood Orgy of the She-Devils. Okay, so Glenn, take Dragonheart. Okay, bring the level of the CGI down a little bit. Take out all the memorable characters. Take out all the nice landscapes. Take out the characterization entirely. In fact, take out remove any resemblance of a plot. Put in a whole bunch of people who can't act, and then you're getting leveled close to the appreciation of the film that I'm talking about. The only resemblance to Dragonheart that this particular film has is it's got the word dragon in it. That is literally it. Okay, so set the scene. Okay, so the film starts. You put the DVD in. It all looks quite good. There's fire and flames and castles and stuff. So as you kind of expect, that looks okay. So you press play, and then I have to listen through at least 5 minutes of exposition. Okay, setting the scene. Now I know that perfectly reputable films like Lord of the Rings do have some fairly lengthy exposition at the beginning. Okay, so the founding of the One Ring, and then the elves made 9 rings for the men, and 7 rings for the dwarfs, and 3 rings for the elven lords, and there's a fair bit of exposition at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, but it's well done exposition. Okay, and it's got some nice sort of thing. Anyway, the exposition in this film is very, very complicated. Okay, a load of names that you're just not going to remember. A castle here, a castle there, which have been destroyed by a dragon for not very clear reasons. Then you learn that there's a king in one castle. There's an evil brother, and a sister, and the sister is a princess, and the brother is presumably a prince. And anyway, the castle that one of them in has been destroyed, and they're on their way. So, they're running away from the destroyed castle, but it's not entirely clear where they're going. So anyway, okay, so kind of like, okay, there's lots of exposition, not a great start, but okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And then opening scene. Okay, so princess, right? In her, having escaped from a ruined castle that has supposedly been burnt to the ground by dragon attack, in the company of a knight and 2 ladies who, are kind of clearly sort of warrior lady types, and then a big bloke with an axe, okay, who's not a dwarf, but he's a big bloke with an axe. Anyway, they're sort of tromping through what appears to be, from what I can work out, the English countryside a couple of years ago in the summer, but that's what it looks like. Okay. Anyway, so opening scene, and then they kind of walk into this medieval village type thing, and it seems to be deserted, which is fine. Okay, so tromping in from the medieval village, there's nobody there. Okay, nothing's on fire. There's nothing at all until accidentally, the the camera pans past, a medieval house, a sort of thatched affair with a few stones and a few goats here, there, and everywhere. And then the camera, I can't believe this is in the film, but it is. The camera pans past a sign. It says, and it's at an angle, so it's quite hard to read, but if you squint you can see it. It says medieval village. And at that point I was like, okay, is this a comedy or is this a serious film? But the scary thing was, it turned out it was a serious film, and this was by no means the worst offence from the people who did the shooting. There was a lovely scene actually. So I can't do it back, Craig, because it was so funny. It was just excruciating. There's another scene, and this may not be the case in every other country around the world. So in the UK, if you go into the countryside, okay, you will quickly come across what we call barbed wire fences. Okay, so most areas in the UK, particularly in England, are sort of delineated. Okay, so there's a field and then there's a stretch of woodland. Or there's a farmer's there's farmers' fields and so on and so forth, and you'll have a barbed wire fence, which is typically a normal metal, it's posts at certain intervals, wooden posts, and a sheet, not a sheet, but a string, if you like, of metal, topped with a piece of barbed wire, which is designed to stop sheep and horses and things jumping over them and keep them in the field. That's what they're for. Anyway, so a barbed wire fence is not an unusual thing to see in the English countryside, okay? And you'll have various places where you can cross them which have special little wooden stiles, as they're called, which allow you to get across things where there's a right of way into a woodland or across a field or something like that, which are ancient rights of way which are preserved by the farmers. That's very normal, okay? Now, if you happen to choose said English countryside as the scene to film your fantasy novel, my recommendation would be to ensure that the barbed wire fence is not visible at the back of the shot. However, this particular piece of advice was not adhered to by said filmmakers. So there's this lovely scene, quite a good, actually, in some ways, one of the better scenes of the entire movie, where the princess is having an argument with the knight about where they should go. And in the background, there's this lovely wood view, nice sort of trees and a field and stuff. There's a barbed wire fence running through the back of the scene. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to be there. It was very neatly done. It was a lovely barbed wire fence, but it's not appropriate for it. So those things came up in the first couple of minutes, and I remember thinking, aha, okay. So anyway, and then there's the characterization. Okay, so we have what appear to be five main characters. Okay, so there's Princess, and she's one of two characters, the only ones I managed to get the name of. Her name is Princess Elizabeth. Okay, and the knight, kind of the good guy of the whole hero. Gonna fix it in post. Literally, gonna fix the post in post. Dragon Wars. It might be called Dragon Wars. Okay, I'm gonna to go get the DVD. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Give me a moment. I will be back, and I'm gonna go and get you the DVD. So you can stay there. I will be back. Literally, I get to use my be right back packet. So I'll be back. I'm gonna be back. Right, I'm back again. Now, brace yourselves, my friend. Brace yourselves, because this This is it. This is, yeah. If you've got a candidate for worst dragon movie ever made that can trump this, I would like you to try. Okay, this is it. This is it. Here we go. Now you can sort of see why my wife picked it up, because it was cheap. I think it was only a couple of quid or something like that. Okay, so it's a triple DVD pack, Knights and Dragons. The first one is called Dragon Kingdom. The next one is called Knights Be Damned, and the last one is called Dragon Mountain. Okay, and it says here, look, award-winning producer, Game of Thrones, also known for Star Wars and Band of Brothers. Game of Thrones versus The Walking Dead, from the producer of Game of Thrones and right out of Lord of the Rings. Okay, so that's, and I don't think it's new. When was it made? It is 2017 era, so it's not that long ago. Okay, so 2, 3, 4 years. So yeah, the DVD, to be fair, I don't think you would necessarily pick that up and go, yeah, that looks awful. Okay, so we've watched Dragon Kingdom, the first one, all right? It does look like a good cover. It looks like a really good cover. Okay, but so in the opening shots, we've had the medieval village, and we've had the barbed wire. Then it gets worse. Okay, then it gets worse. So this is my catalogue of, these are things you mustn't do when you're making a fantasy movie. Now I get that, you know, people want to make fantasy movies and they haven't necessarily got the budget to do huge, you know, super duper special effects and all that kind of stuff. But you know, acknowledge the limitations of the sort of the environment that you've got to play with. But leave a barbed wire fence in the background. I mean, that's just a naughty error. So then we got that. Okay, so we've got 5 main characters. We've got Princess Elizabeth, right? Okay, so she's your obviously average, fairly normal princess that you would kind of expect in the fantasy novel. I.e., she's young, she's very, very pretty, she's naive. She's, despite, yeah, this is a constant thing for me in fantasy films. Despite having escaped from a broken down castle and a dragon that has destroyed said castle, and presumably had to run away a lot rather quickly, she's still in her princess outfit. Okay, it's totally pristine. There's not a hair out of place. You know, there's not a hint of dust. There's nothing. It's just freshly laundered princess outfit. Okay, she still looks all spangly. I think they did spend all the money on the DVD budget. Anyway, she has escaped from this castle with a dragon egg. Okay, which I kind of assumed, because quite a big thing was made of this at the start of the movie, that the dragon egg was significant to the plot. Big mistake. All right. And she's accompanied by a knight, okay, a very honourable knight called George. Let's not use a cliched name for a knight. They're called. Well, how about George? That's never been done before. No. We're safe with George. He has a mate, which I'm afraid. I'm a bit ashamed of this. We just ended up by calling the fat guy because that was the only distinguishing feature he had. To be honest. So I hope you'll forgive me for that, because I don't mean it in any horrible way, but that was the only distinguishing character he had in the entire film. And then, yeah, to round it off, this troop was accompanied by 2 sort of, I suppose, warrior Amazonian types, whose only really distinguishing feature was basically there were 2 young girls who, one had a bow and arrow, and the other one had a sort of chain thing, which it wasn't quite clear how you used it, but she would rattle it and swing it around a lot and look fierce. And they had really, really, really heavy eye makeup, okay? Which you're kind of again asking yourself, when did they apply that, and how did they keep it looking so neat? You know, despite the fact that they're doing lots of physical exertion and charging around and doing stuff. But anyway, so that's the crew. Okay, there's 5 of them, and then they. Basically, it starts off, okay, and then all these sort of zombie types attack them for no obviously good reason. But it appears that they're the thing that's helping the dragons overthrow the land, and they're sort of running away from him, trying to preserve. For some reason, it's not entirely clear, and I was hopeful that it would become clear. They've got a dragon egg. The princess is carrying a dragon egg, and then anyway. Then there's the sort of, okay, it's night time, and George volunteers to take the first watch, and there's a bit of conversation about the fact that the princess really ought to dress in something more peasanty, otherwise she's going to draw attention. So she starts off in this sort of glorious green flowing robe, which is sequined and padded and plaited and all sorts of stuff, very, very queenly and princessy. And I thought, well, at least that's a sensible suggestion. Get her into something peasanty, so she doesn't draw so much attention, so they can stealthily go through, whatever they need to do. So then, okay, so she gets changed. There's the obligatory girl get changed shot. Soft focus. Only focusing on her head, but clearly she's shimmying out of her dress type thing. And then the knight obviously wanders in at this point, accidentally on purpose. And there's that sort of usual kind of embarrassed silence while they look at each other and try not to look at each other thing. And it's kind of clearly being telegraphed at this point. Aha, relationship coming. And then when the next shot of the princess is when she's in her peasant garb, which is a pure white gown, totally untarnished, utterly pure white, as if she's just stepped out of a... like a washing machine advert, whiter than white. And then she instantly then in the next scene sits down next to the knight who's still dealing with the campfire, instantly they've just fallen in love. Where did that come from? Yes, soft focus. That works. The whole pretty girl shot. Anyway, so that's sort of how it starts. You go thinking, okay, so very formulaic. Okay, love interest, pure white peasant dress. You're just thinking, why? What's her name? Ariel? No, shouldn't have been, shouldn't it? And then so it just keeps getting better. This thing. Anyway, there's a big discussion about where they should go. Okay, we need to get. Apparently, they didn't even have names for the castles. Okay, they just had. This made me chuckle as well. They just had the Western Castle and the Eastern Castle. Nobody would name their castle the Western Castle. So that was really good. And then in order to get to the Eastern Castle, which apparently is where they need to get there, they had to go through the Shadow Kingdom. And the moment somebody mentions the Shadow Kingdom, everybody stands up in horror going, no, not the Shadow Kingdom. Of course, the princess, because she's the exposition mechanism for the story, goes, what's wrong about the Shadow Kingdom? It doesn't sound very nice. And so the knight has to explain what's so bad about the Shadow Kingdom, which of course is basically nobody's ever gone in there and come out again. Okay, nobody ever comes out of the Shadow Kingdom. To which I would be, if I was a member of this troop, I would be mentioning, basically saying, why are we going that way then? Because it doesn't sound like a good bet to me. Okay, is there a Dark Lord? Yes. Apparently, the Shadow Kingdom is home of a Dark Lord. Quite what his issue isn't clear at this point in the story. But anyway, they decide, the knight says, no, we've got to go through the Shadow Kingdom. But you just said that nobody ever comes out. But nobody seems to be bothered by this. They have their sort of initial reaction, oh, that sounds really bad. You think we should do that? And he basically goes, yes. And nobody argues with them after that. It's like, well, you say we have to go to the Shadow Kingdom. Are there no alternatives at all? It's like, how about we go east a bit, or maybe south a bit, so we can then go west and then go north a bit. Might take a bit longer, but maybe that would be a lot safer. Doesn't cross their minds, okay, that there might be a way of avoiding the Shadow Kingdom. No, the strategy is to go directly through the Shadow Kingdom because nobody else has ever come back out, but clearly we're special. And then the weirdest moment of the movie happens. Okay, It's the evil Shadow King of the Shadow Kingdom. It's basically... That's a very good question, Commander Goodnight. If no one's come out of the Shadow Kingdom, how do they know? How do you know nobody's come back out? Have you checked absolutely everybody? What if we went around? So this was like, I was just ticking off things in my kind of don't do this in a fantasy film. Yeah, okay, so there was no discussion about any alternatives to going around the Shadow Kingdom. There wasn't even a throwaway line, such as it would take us 17 days and we haven't got that long, or something that would at least explain that they'd thought about the alternatives. But no, there's just going straight on through, okay, through the Shadow Kingdom. And everyone goes, yeah, okay then. And then the weirdest thing happened, okay? Suddenly, and this is while they're still in the medieval village, the one with the sign, okay? Suddenly a dragon turns up, all right? We haven't seen a dragon yet. And to be honest, the CGI here I was expecting to be really, really bad. It was sort of passable CGI. It wasn't modern, decent standard, but it was kind of okay. The dragon lands and kind of does its sort of thing, right? As you would expect a dragon to do. And then the knight basically, they're all kind of standing there going, waiting, axes raised and bows drawn, ready to deal with a dragon, which looks enormous. So, then the knight decides it wants its egg back. So he takes the egg that they've been protecting all the time up until this point in the story, and sort of tiptoes forward, lays it at the dragon's feet. The dragon gives a few more kind of roars, scoops up the egg and flies off. And that's the last time we see the dragon. It's like, what was that about? That egg was supposedly important to something somewhere. And anyway, so maybe it's answered in one of the sequels, if I can stomach actually doing it. But that's it. The dragon. That's it. There's nothing about the dragon ever again. It's just like, okay, another dead end. So then we have to go, okay, to the Shadow Kingdom, and the Shadow Kingdom appears to be the edge of a forest with some sort of smoky black sparkly effect. And anyway, we obviously go into the forest, and the inside of the forest is basically just a normal forest, but with the kind of exposure dialed down, so everything looks dark and spooky. And then they commit more and more kind of gross writing errors. All right. And the problem is I could forgive this film entirely if it had decided to be a comedy. All right. If it had decided to be cliches are us, or bad cliches from fantasy are us, I could have completely let it off. But the problem was the film was trying to take itself seriously. What film? Feather of the Crow is talking about this film. Okay, Knights and Dragons, specifically Dragon Kingdom. I'm sort of reviewing it tonight. Award-winning producer Chris Newman, Game of Thrones, also known for Star Wars and Band of Brothers. Now I'm going to have to look this up because I cannot imagine anybody wanting to put their name to this film. That's how bad it was. And coupling everything I've described so far with nobody, to be frank, who can act at all. Okay. Nobody who can act. They were all very wooden, really, really bad. But it was trying to take itself seriously. This was the funny thing. Then there's another totally cliched scene. Okay, so there's a bit of an attack. Okay, and the four kind of warrior heroes, the two girls. So there's basically Archer Girl and Chain Girl. Well, I have no idea what they were called because they weren't memorable. There's Fat Guy, and again I apologise. That's what we called him. And then there's the knight, there's the hero, there's George. And they have to defend the princess, who of course is kind of like, oh no, don't hurt me, because she doesn't know how to fight. And eventually they deal with the baddies and she's okay again. And then round the campfire that evening, she basically says, you're going to have to teach me how to fight. And George goes, okay then. He chucks her a sword, which she catches. And then basically, over the course of the next 30 seconds, everybody transfers all of their fighting prowess to Princess, okay, one at a time. So she first learns in like 10 seconds how to use a sword. And then one of the Amazon girls says, right, you hold a bow like this, and then she instantly scores a bullseye, okay. And then Act Guy, Fat Man, says, yeah, swing like this. And then instantly she's like a super warrior. over the course of one campfire in the evening, you've learned how to be warrior princess. And then, anyway, so then they're off to the Shadow Kingdom. And in the Shadow Kingdom is as you kind of, you're probably expecting by now. So she's like Rey from Star Wars. Yeah, she's worse than that. She's even faster. And it's a shame actually, because she's actually out of all of them, to be honest. And I'll have to dig out the names, but Fat Guy and Princess Elizabeth were the two best actors and actress in the entire film. They actually sort of vaguely came across as like competent actors. Nobody else did. Anyway, so we're in the Shadow Kingdom, and then they're sort of going through some sort of rocky terrain with very, very steep sides. So they've decided to go through a cavern. Okay, never a good idea. Until one of the warrior girls at the front, Archer girl I think it was, is kind of looking around, and then we, as the people watching the film, see what are clearly some creatures. Okay, stalking them, and. Then, a few seconds later, Archer girl at the front goes, "I think somebody's watching us." And then, cue attack. It's like thinking, oh God, no. If you're going to give one of your characters the ability to sense things that are coming, then let them do it before you let the watchers know, the people watching the video, that there's a possibility that something's going on. Because otherwise they just look stupid, which she did, alas. So that was good. So anyway, there's another fight scene. Okay, so a fair bit of fight, and to be honest, again, probably the only bit of the film that did redeem itself a bit. There was clearly some choreography going on with the fighting, it was passable fighting. Okay, and I've always got quite a critical eye for fight scenes in films, because I've learned how to use swords and things. I did my own research. I actually learned how to use and fight with sticks and staffs and swords as part of my own research for fight scenes. And one of the things that is always wrong in fight scenes is how long they take. Actual real fights are over really, really fast. Okay, in real life, people don't swing swords around for ages because it's just physically too exhausting. And the same with axes. You either score, or you don't, usually pretty quickly. And bows and arrows, boom, boom, boom. Knives the same. Fist fights are the same. You know, it's whack, 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 bang, you're down. And that's it. You've won or lost. This constant pummeling. And chucking and rolling, all that sort of stuff. No, that's not what a real fight looks like. Anyway, so halfway through this fight, poor Archer girl, and I was a bit disappointed by this, because she was by this point she was one of my favourite characters. She gets hauled off by three of the bad kind of orky things, screaming, going, "Ah!" As she's sort of abducted. And the other four, I think it's George. Basically, he basically says, "It's too late. She's gone." And the others go, "Okay." It's like, hang on, she hasn't died. All you saw is I got pulled away. Maybe she's being held captive or something. You don't know she's dead. And then, no, she just abandoned her. It's like, no. There's no remorse. It's not like, oh no, and from other chain girl, there's no remorse at all. It's like, oh, well. It's like she was never there. Nobody cares. So I'm just going to, at this point, make a note for poor Archer girl. I missed you. I felt sorry that you met your end, because I'm assuming she did meet her end, because she's just gone. She's just not there for the rest of the movie. So she's gone. So too bad. So never mind. Anyway, so onwards they go. And then it just gets really, really weird. Okay, then for no obvious reason, suddenly there's a band of 10. I can only really describe them as teenage girls who appear to be similar to the, now -1 kind of Amazon girls that we started with in the main troop. There's a pack of 10 of them running through the forest, just ambushing people for no good reason, and just looking really, really cross. And they've all got the same makeup problem, okay? And they've got really, what they've got is kind of black smeared makeup underneath their eyes, like this. It kind of slowly dribbles down to their cheek. Anyway, their job appears to be to run around the Shadow Kingdoms ambushing people for no obviously good reason. They wouldn't have thought, given the dearth of people in the Shadow Kingdom, that there would be an awful lot of ambushing required. But anyway, that's their job, and they charge. They just charge around, ambushing and destroying things, and you kind of part of you is thinking, I think they had too many people to cast for this movie, and they had to give them something to do. So you girls over there, you're going to be the Amazon Marauders. What do we do? Well, you just run around. That's all they do. There's no character development at all. It's literally just run around looking cross and stabbing things. So you're not quite clear what that's all about. Then at about the halfway mark, you finally get introduced to the actual baddie, who's not the Dark Lord of the Shadow Realm, as you might suspect. It's actually the son of the king, who, again, you've only just been introduced to, who's the father of Princess Elizabeth. And he's got the dastardly plot to take over the kingdom. But he does his dastardly plot by apparently getting... The dastardly plot is quite complicated. Okay, so the dastardly plot is to confuse the king into thinking he's a good guy for a few minutes and then lock him in a cell. And then the king goes, "Oh, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal," basically, that sort of thing. I hadn't seen that coming. It wasn't clearly telegraphed to me at all. And then the rampage. And then apparently he's tried to murder his sister, which is why the other castle's been destroyed. So he's decided to destroy most of his kingdom in an effort to take over the kingdom, which doesn't make quite a lot of sense. Destroy most of the armies of the kingdom in order to take over his kingdom. And then apparently he's also somehow the creator of the Dark Lord who lives in the Shadow Kingdom. And it's all part of his plan to get his sister, Princess Elizabeth, to go into the Shadow Kingdom to be killed or enslaved by the Dark Lord so that he can become king of the kingdom. You're kind of going, okay. So I'm just trying to understand this guy's motivation. What's your top family? Yeah, we were pretty much just trying to make sense of this plot. Anyway, so eventually, of course, they get kidnapped by the Dark Lord. And the Dark Lord is actually... he's quite an interesting guy. He's basically a lizard, right? But for some reason, he's a lizard who's attracted a harem of scantily clad ladies. Now, I think if I was a Dark Lizard Lord, that's probably the sort of thing I would probably do myself. But I was quite surprised in a relatively modern film to see a Dark Lord, a lizard person Dark Lord with a harem of scantily clad ladies, all kind of doing their, you are wonderful, and pouring at him in their bikinis. And somewhere along the line, because basically the idea here is that Princess Elizabeth says, he basically said, no, you cannot, nobody leaves the Shadow Kingdom unless I command it. So Princess Elizabeth basically bravely says, I will stay with you if you let my friends go. Not quite clear where they're going to go afterwards because they've no longer got a mission if they're not protecting Princess Elizabeth, but anyway. And he basically says, yes, that's acceptable. So anyway, suddenly Princess Elizabeth has to shed her sparkly white peasant garb and then is transformed into effectively slave girl with the bikinis, etc., etc., and become one of the harem. Obviously she's a little bit reluctant. Anyway, whilst that's happening, there's a double cross. We didn't see that coming, did you? Is that the evil lizard dude basically says, no, actually I'm going to add an extra condition to this. You've got to defeat one of my champions in order to get your escape. And so they go, oh, all right then. And so each one of the three remaining heroes has to fight off with a bounty. And surprise, surprise, there's to and fro in the battle, another battle scene. And Chain Girl wins, Fat Guy loses, but Hero George sort of saves the day and rescues them both, kind of thing. And then surprise, surprise, there's another double cross where the lizard person basically says, actually, I was lying because I'm a bad guy. I'm not going to release any of you. And then you could just sort of see George's expression. Well, that's not very honourable. No, it's not. He's a bad guy. What do you expect? And his Archer-lady, Archer-lady is gone, alas. I don't know what happened. I think she's dead. I kind of hope she's not. Maybe she comes back in another film. But anyway, she's gone. And no sign of Archer-lady. So Chain Girl is upset by this. Anyway, as this is happening, two other guys appear who won't be referenced anywhere else in the movie, who are apparently under control of the top dude who's trying to take over the kingdom. They basically sort of turn up under some sort of magical duress, and basically explain that Princess Elizabeth must be killed because top baddie dude has sort of said so. But Lizard Man doesn't like this idea because he's got this new addition to his harem, so he says no. And then there's basically an argument between top evil dude and lizard evil dude, and it kind of they fall out basically. At which point George steps in with well, hang on a minute, if the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He actually says that line. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So how about we just let bygones be bygones? Why don't we all join forces? Deal with the super top baddie. But that falls on deaf ears for a moment until suddenly the Amazon Lady group, the 10 strange Amazon Lady group, turns up, runs into the arena, starts fighting everybody. And then eventually Lizard Guy goes, "Stop!" And then basically says, I've had a chance to think about what you've been saying and I agree. It's time for us all to work together to defeat the evil in this land. And everyone goes, "Hurrah!" End credits. I kid you not. That is the plot summary. Dear. And I was just like, okay, so hang on, so dragon that has no particular point to the movie, egg item that has no particular point to the movie, barbed wire fence, not good, sign saying medieval village, not good. Okay, obvious love interest from princess and knight, not good. Okay, loads of people running around who apparently have no purpose in this story at all. Lots of really ropey dialogue, lots of really ropey action, lots of really ropey acting. A girl who becomes proficient in swordplay within like 2 hours. Girls who are running around in their underwear for no apparent reason with too much makeup on. This just went on every single level. Okay, it was just diabolically bad. Now, the serious point here, okay, because this is supposed to be a writing stream, and I've just been enjoying myself the last half an hour just ripping this movie to shreds. The thing is, okay, this is the movie, this is the DVD, right? The Dragon Kingdom is the one I've just been describing. Okay, looks pretty good in terms of the actual box, and I'm just looking at this thinking, how the hell did this get made? I'm just looking at it thinking, did nobody step back from this at any point in time and go, you know what? It's not quite what we're aiming for here. Drew's final score, girls running around. Yeah. I clearly I don't mind girls running around the underwear. I mean, I think there's fairly obvious reason why that's not, but I mean, there's got to be a reason for it. It's got to be a plot device of some kind. Oh dear, it just was terrible. And I'm just looking at it thinking, how did this thing get made? No, I don't. I'm just looking at it on every single level, thinking, who wrote the plot? I'm gonna, to be honest, I'm gonna have to now delve into it to find out how this got made, because it's relatively recent. The date on this is copyright 2018. Okay, and it all looks, on the DVD, it all looks quite professional. and yet it was utterly diabolical at every single level of, the writing was appalling, the dialogue was appalling, some of the sets were okay. Oh, I've even forgotten about the bit with the ship. Sorry, there's a whole section about a bit with the ship. Anyway, there's a small section where they try and take a ship to make a detour, but I think it's been edited out. So the bit of the ship doesn't really make any sense. All you've got is a shot with the ship approaching the captain and trying to get on the ship. And and then somebody gets on the ship, and then that's the last we see of the ship. It's just never mentioned again. It's like, did that get edited out? Did something get wrong? And then there's a sort of shot of a medieval ship on the sea, and that's about it. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. And the captain is clearly not an actor. The captain of the ship stands on the guard and goes, "So, why do you need to be on my ship?" And literally does it like that. And they go, "Oh, you need to save us from the dragons." Right then, you best be aboard then. What? It's like, does nobody go through the basic? It's like somebody said, maybe there was a drunken D&D game, and basically somebody wrote it all down and go, "There you go." That's what happened to us when we played the game. We're going to turn that into a movie. I don't know. I'm just trying. And the sad thing is that you can see in some of the actors, you can see there's some passion for what they're doing. They're trying. Okay, they really are trying. And yet the plot is there's no other word for it. It's execrable. It's astonishingly bad. And yet it's still somehow got green lighted. And it's got camera work that, except when it's looking at barbed wire fences, there are panning shots that, grab the action. You can see that somebody's paid some attention to lighting and all those sort of things. And yet, it's just really, really, really excruciatingly bad. So bad that you have to switch your mindset from, I was going to watch this as a fantasy movie, now I'm using it as ammunition. So what the other two movies are like? I don't even know if I'm assuming they're sequels. So I mean, and the description on the back here doesn't match up with the plot. It says here, to save their kingdom from the Dark Lord's army. No apostrophe, by the way, on Dark Lords. A group of warriors must travel through the Forbidden Lands, fighting the fearsome monsters of the Dragon Kingdom to rescue their king. Okay, well, there wasn't a Dragon Kingdom at all. There was a Shadow Kingdom. So it sounds like they changed the plot even before they wrote the back blurb, or maybe afterwards. What are they doing? And it says Dragon Kingdom, and that's the title of the DVD, but it's actually called the Shadow Kingdom in the story. It's so bad it's not listed even on IMDb. I'm gonna have to do the others, because I'll take one for the community, because it is on Amazon Prime, so there you go, you can find it now. If you go and watch it, I recommend you either have a few beers in advance, or you just sit there in critique mode, because it's not a film to enjoy. It is on. It's on Amazon Prime. What are the reviews like? Let's have a look. It's got to be there. What's it called? Hang on, Dragon Kingdom. Dragon Kingdom. Yeah, it's got 40 reviews, all right, and it's got 3.5 stars. Oh dear. 3.5 stars. It's not worth half a star. It really isn't. Let's just have a look here. Okay, hang on. So I'm going to switch to the other screen. Here we go. This is what it says. These are the reviews. Really enjoyed it. 3 stars. It's a low-budget B-movie, British Game of Thrones style film. So if you're looking for a Hollywood blockbuster, this isn't it. There's an English phrase here, which is no Sherlock. However, I found it enjoyable to watch in a way that only low-budget B-movies can deliver. Oh, hang on, it says this is the sequel to Knights of the Damned, which, in that case, the DVD's in the wrong order, because Knights of the Damned is the middle one, according to that. There we go, look, this is the stuff that I spotted. It's terrible, says Simon Roach. There is a modern pignet fencing in parts. Well done for spotting that, Simon. The outfits are all new, never been worn before. Yes, good spot. Actors are wooden. 1 star is the least I could give, but it's less than what it deserves. Don't waste your life watching this film unless you're stoned, because then it will be funny. I think that, to be honest, that is a very fair review. So this is a sequel. So actually, this is not good, because that means I've watched them in the wrong order. So maybe some of my criticisms of the plot are not quite as justified as I thought they were, because it was billed as being the first one. Apparently, Knights of the Damned is actually the first one. So we're going to have to do a bit more research. But I recommend you watch this, okay, as an exercise in how not to make a movie. This is the sequel to Knights of the Damned, which was hilariously bad. This is just bad. Okay, they did improve the dragon, but the front of this disc is very misleading. There is no heart-pounding Great War, and I have no idea who the dude is. Costume head are good enough, not so much the bodies of the various monsters, but the heads are great. Looking for the mistakes is a fun way to pass the time. It doesn't make sense because I watched it out of order. What would happen if the Fraggles grew up and then failed their auditions for EastEnders and Games of Thrones? So it makes much more sense when I watch it in order, but you thought they'd have paid attention to that on the box, but maybe not. Okay. Somebody's gone 5 stars. Very good film. You kind of wonder what they would think of. Not a particularly good film. Anyway, there it goes. Onwards and onwards. Fraggle Rock the movie. Dreadful. One word, dreadful. Didn't like the film. Nothing like as described on the DVD case. The acting and graphics were terrible. Wow, this film sucks more than the Bangless Dyson. I only gave 1 star because there's nothing lower. This is so bad, it's the combined efforts of some East London amateur dramatic and a school play. Worst acting I've possibly ever seen. That said, you do get the odd chuckle due to totally inepting of acting. Monsters think leotards with black paint and flickery background effects. Horrifying, don't bother. Mrs. Taylor, however, okay, so this is a low-budget film. It's still great. Really? Storyline was good. I was pleasantly surprised the acting was fine. The CGI was a bit iffy. Some of the costumes of the monsters were excellent. The ending was very abrupt, but leaves it open for a sequel, which I actually hope there is. A good fantasy film, definitely worth a watch, says Miss Taylor, mother of Monster Number 5. So there's a German review here that I don't think is holding back. I don't speak German, but I think absoluter Schrott is probably not very complimentary. So the thing is the bit that puzzles me, okay, and this is, and it kind of, part of me is annoyed by this, because I'm thinking, you know, I'm sure. Okay, I might not be a screenwriter. Okay, I've never been a screenwriter. I've never tried writing a screenplay, so I don't. You know, I'm not speaking from a position of knowledge, right? But I'm pretty sure I could write a screenplay that would hold together better than Dragon Kingdom. I really do. And I'm looking at that thinking, how did that happen? Because, you know, there's actors there, there's on-scene location filming, there's cameras, there's lighting, there's costumes, there's, you know, there's a lot of money being spent, even if it's a low-budget B movie, all right, set in the United Kingdom, and it's been done on the super cheap. It's, you know, making that is not a super cheap thing to have done. I think Google Translate might be worth a visit. But yeah, but you see what I mean, okay? There's a, you know, that represents, I mean, as utterly awful as it is, okay, that represents many loving hours of dedication and dare I say hard work on the behalf of quite a lot of people in order to make that a thing. You're kind of thinking, how did that happen? How did anybody involved go, yeah, this is going well? Unless they were aiming to achieve something that was actually comical but not comical. I don't know. I'd love to know. I really would. But yeah. You really have to go and read it, because watch it. Sorry, because it really was unbelievable. And thus the shame was good. So yeah, but yeah, I would to be honest, I would love the opportunity, because I mean, I'm thinking, let's say, I mean, let's take this back to a slightly serious point. Okay, if all we've got, okay, is a bunch of willing actors, okay, who are not great, but yeah, let's say they're okay, you've got a limited CGI budget, okay, very limited CGI budget, clearly, yeah, and you used that all on a dragon who had who part in the story, and a few sort of magical effects. No, that's okay. Now you can tell a really good story without having CGI. Okay, it's not a requirement. Yeah, if it's a big budget Hollywood movie, clearly. But you don't need it to look good. If you know your limitations are, actually all we can do is, we've got a few cameras. The only places we can get to with the crew and the film studio and the actors is the English countryside. There are parts of the English countryside that are very picturesque and will work quite well for a fantasy novel, and you could put some filters in and change the colour of the sky and stuff like that. Okay, and so that stuff, and you can use some funny lens angles and stuff. If those are limitations that you acknowledge, okay, then your emphasis has to be on the script, right? Surely. You really got to make the best use of the people you've got. Now I'm looking at that thinking, okay, there's a little bit of CGI for a dragon. Okay, good, okay. There is somebody who can play a princess, there's somebody who can play an evil bad dude. We've got evil guys, we've got a bit of makeup, we've got a bit of costume, we've got the English countryside, okay. One thing I noticed they didn't use, they made no use of dawn or dusk. Okay, so one of the things they have a shot where they're all getting up in the morning, and you can see the shadows are really short. It's like it clearly isn't the morning. And none of the nighttime shots, they didn't shoot them at night. They shot them in the daytime, darkened it down, and then stuck a very fake-looking moon low in the sky. So which didn't cast any shadows, so it looked terrible. And it's like, if you're gonna do that, take advantage of the environment that you're in. Film at night. Maybe it just wasn't possible, but if you haven't got a CGI budget, you're going to have to go with the actual environment that you've got. So there were a lot of simple things they could have done, given the limitations that they were operating under, in order to make that story a lot better. But the first basic thing is just go through the rules of writing. Don't dump massive lumps of exposition at the front where clearly they don't work. Don't make your character a Mary Sue who suddenly becomes from totally naive to totally expert within the course of like 30 seconds. Don't have just the generic plausible romance. Give your characters names. I think they probably did have names, but as far as I can't remember what they were, because I didn't know. They didn't get referenced. So all I've got is Fat Guy, Archer Girl, and Chain Girl. And poor Archer Girl, was kind of the one I was rooting for, because she was always at the front. She gets killed and nobody cares. That's really sad. You've got to get people invested in your characters, okay? I don't know. So many things I'm looking at there thinking, if I had been on the team for this, I could have I'm not saying I could have salvaged the movie, but I could have made it less bad by quite a degree, I feel. It does cost more to film at night, says Wintermoon. So I get that. When do we start filming Sherwood? I'm worried now. We're filming Sherwood. So I don't know. JR19 has got it ready to go as soon as the stream's over. Brace for impact. So no spoilers. So how much character development can you do in 19 minutes? Well, the thing is, what they did is they had too many Okay, I think one of the problems was they were. I get the impression looking at it, it was an acting troupe. Okay, that had an awful lot of people who wanted to have a line. Okay, so an awful lot of people in the story who basically popped up, said a couple of things, and then went again. Okay, one of whom was a sort of peasant boy who basically just went, "We're all going to die." Was his only contribution. So I think there was a bunch of people they had sort of, I don't know, maybe due to the way it was financed perhaps, that they basically said, yes, you've paid, I don't know, 100 quid or whatever it is to have a line in our film. So somehow we've got to honour that. So they had to work in a way for all these sort of bit parts to be in there to go, hey, I'm a peasant. Oh, I'm dead. That sort of stuff. You know, so that's the thing. How much character development can you do? Said Mad Monk. So you know, you've got to squirrel down the number of main characters. Okay, having 5 was way too many. Okay, the princess appears to be the linchpin around most of what the story revolves around. So you need to focus on her. You need to make her more realistic for a start. Okay. The other thing they didn't do is they didn't have any proper banter. They had a little bit, but they didn't have enough proper banter between the characters. So it's what they were trying to do was that Knight George and his trusty sidekick Fat Man were clearly, you know, campaigners who had worked together, you know, through many battles. That's the sort of impression you were getting, and yet they didn't have enough time to kind of reminisce on some of the old fights, and you didn't get the impression that they'd worked together very much. Chain Girl and Archer Girl never really said anything other than, I think we're being watched. So you didn't get to know them. And so when one of them was kidnapped, that was kind of like, oh well, never mind. They could definitely, the dragon did nothing. Okay, don't know how much the CGI dragon cost them, but it was utterly pointless to the story. It didn't do anything. You know, the makeup and the creature designs were, for a B movie, were pretty good. I thought actually, I thought they weren't the weakest part of the story, but you always have to have a troop of. See, the thing is, the two girl warriors at the beginning, Archer Girl and Chain Girl, were totally interchangeable. There didn't need to be 2 of them. One, if at all, would have been fine. They didn't really do anything other than, oh, we're being watched. And just be extra people to, you know, fight with. The entire troop of girl warrior Amazon women in their underwear, much as I like things like that, utterly pointless. You could completely get rid of them and the movie would be no different. Quite a few bits of the movie actually you could totally cut out and there would be no thing. And you know, if you're going to go for 90 minutes, I mean, you can make a perfectly decent movie with character development in 90 minutes if you just focus on the characters, and yet they just didn't. It said dragon on the title, so they had to have one. I think that's kind of it. I think you're right, Army School. The only reason the dragon is in effect, I'm the dragon. Hello, done my bit. Right, can I have that egg, please? Bye. So, and I'm just looking. I love. I'm going to have to dig into it now to find out what was going on behind this, because it's relatively new. You know, only a few years ago, and yet it has absolute 101 cliches for things that you shouldn't do when making a film, and especially when making a fantasy film. Amazon women in their underwear. Well, it's kind of it's marked as a 15. I didn't think there was anything in it that. It just says suit. I mean, you know, I know these advisory markings don't necessarily translate to different countries, but a 15 film would normally be that there's some, in the UK there's some swearing in it, and maybe there's a bit of blood, so maybe that's why it's a 15, because there is some CGI blood, which actually is done quite well. So when they swipe at each other and cut each other's heads off and the arms and things, there is actually some blood splatters, which actually is a CGI effect. It actually looks quite good. So whoever did that bit does deserve a little bit of praise. Is it worse than Starship Troopers? It's way below that level. You know, so they could have developed the princess better. You know, she should have come out of the destruction of her castle a bit shell shocked, and she wasn't. She was just, I'm the pretty princess. in my totally new outfit. And I can understand if you spent a lot of effort on making an outfit for a princess, you wouldn't want to see it kind of made mucky and horrible. But you know, you're trying to make a film here. That's what she's supposed to look like. She wasn't an elven princess. She was just a princess who'd lost her castle. So a curious thing. I do recommend you watch it for all the reasons I've outlined. But I'm just absolutely bemused as to how they managed to make it and get all the way through to production and market it and put it on DVD and everything that they did, without taking a good long hard look at what they created and going, I think we may be, I just don't know. And having not been involved in the making of anything like that, I don't know. Do you just get sucked into the process and the thing develops a momentum all of its own? The guy who plays George is the one who did the screenplay for these films. Did you say it was on Amazon? Apparently, yes, it is. It is on Amazon, so you can find it. Anyways, okay. So George, Knight George, is the guy who wrote the story, is he? Okay, so maybe it's a little bit self-serving because he's the hero and he rescues everybody. All three films are on Prime, so you can find them. So I do heartily recommend you watch them. That's not a recommendation for a good film, but it's an object lesson from me as to how not to make a fantasy film. So I will. It's interesting that Knights of the Damned is actually then therefore supposed to be the first one, because it doesn't say that here. Although the only thing it does conclude is it's the date. So does anybody know the actual order then? Because according to this, it should be Knights of the Damned, then Dragon Kingdom, or the Dark Kingdom, or no, the Shadow Kingdom. Sorry, to give it its proper name. So yeah. What can I say? Yeah, you see, the thing is, did the script exist before they shot it? Had somebody read the script? Because presumably the actors were working off a script, one would assume. The blurb for the first film is bad enough. Well, that's the thing I'll be asking, because when I write a book, I mean, here's a book that I've written, right? And you know most of it. Hopefully I can stand here sit here in front of you and go, I'm not totally inept at writing a story. I think is that fair? Okay, I think I can. I think I'm in a position of some authority here to basically say yes, I can put together a half decent story with character development, with description and the correct amount of exposition, and try to juggle these. I'm not perfect, nobody is, but I feel like I feel I can at least hold my head up high and go, I've got an opinion on this. And I'm just thinking, how did that script get off the drawing board? Because I'm just looking at it, and instantly, the moment I'm reading it, I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. Too many baddies. Okay, you've got two baddies in a 90-minute film. That should be an instant no. Okay, we just got to have one Dark Lord. Okay, one guy with the ambition to do the bad thing. Okay, don't confuse it by having two. That doesn't make sense. Okay, this group of Amazonian women in their underwear running around attacking people and looking angry. Where are they from? What's their purpose? Why do they exist? What's their beef? Where do they come from? Where do they live? What do they do when they're not attacking people? Are they guardians of something, or are they just literally running? What's their reason for existing? This business about the Western Castle and the Eastern Castle. I feel a map might be in order. Can we just map out the landscape in which we're in, and maybe come up with slightly better names? Western Castle and Eastern Castle. And if son of the king wants to take over the kingdom, why does he imprison his father in a castle, destroy one of his other castles with a bunch of dragons, which appear to be under his control, but it all happens off scene? Why doesn't he just poison his dad and go, oh no, my dad's died. oh, I inherit the kingdom. Done. Why doesn't that happen? Okay, it's all these simple, very, very simple logical questions about the plot, which have not been answered in any way. The first film has malicious water sirens. So Ben Lloyd Holmes, I'm probably going to get into trouble with that because he's probably going to find me and go, right, Drew, I challenge you. Challenge accepted. So I don't know. Well, and this is it. I don't know how I'm going to have to dig into it, find out how this was funded, because maybe it was a Kickstarter or something like that. I have no idea. Maybe we can figure this out, because I'd love to know how this got to happen. Because the thing that's going on in the back of my head is, if there's something that atrocious can be made, surely I can get this turned into a TV film, and maybe even a good one. I don't know. What do you think? I am just genuinely bemused by the fact it exists. Okay, George wrote the script the day before the next day of film. Maybe. Look closely. Does it say something like the continuing saga? I don't know. Glenn says, phone call from Ben Lloyd Holmes. Would you like to make a movie of your books? Thanks, George. Oh dear. Just shockingly bad. Everything I've ever tried to impart to you guys about writing, every single rule was broken in this movie. It really is astonishingly bad. Okay, so maybe that's it. Dragon Eye has figured the marketing campaign. Maybe it's made that bad deliberately, just because everyone must see it to believe it. It can't possibly be that bad. Drew must be exaggerating. And now there is a huge flock of people who wish to see it thanks to you. So I've actually contributed too. Suddenly it will shoot up the charts, won't it? And then dear Ben will be suddenly thinking, why have I suddenly been so successful? I must make more of these movies. Put some dragons in Shadewood. Well, you see, I did sort of put dragons in Shadewood. Not fire-breathing mystical dragons, but the Dax, by any other description, sort of dragony, aren't they? They're big flapping creatures you can ride. So, I kind of did go with the dragon thing with Shadewood. So that is that's kind of a thought process. I think the flying reptiles. Let's go for that. And Dak obviously is shorthand for pterodactyl. That's where it came from. I was thinking that maybe the name would over millennia be a contraction of words that the original human colonists used. So, it looks a bit like a pterodactyl. A pterodactyl, and then over 1,000 years later, it's just called a Dak. That's the sort of thought process I went through with it. So always leave a review, says Glenn. Can do that. Super Creamy. Hi Drew, I was doing research for my D&D world that exists on the tidally locked moon and stumbled across your series. Can't wait to get started on it. I hope you enjoy them, Super Creamy. Thank you. Anyway, thank you very much for popping into the stream, and I hope you have fun. A D&D scenario on a tidally locked world would probably be quite interesting. So if you there's actually a fair bit of we talked about it on the stream before, by the way, about the technology and the lore and the sort of sciencey stuff behind what I did with the Shadewood world tidally locked, because I had to solve all the problems of how do you tell the time, how do you navigate, how do you draw a map, blah 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 blah, on a tidally locked world, because north, south, east, west no longer makes sense, time doesn't make sense, you can't use hours and so on and so forth. So I figured all that out in order to write those books. So if you do want to know anything about that background, do find me on my website, drewwager.com/about. Send me an email and I can send you some stuff about the mechanisms I used on Shadewood. So if that's any use, then do get in contact. And anyway, I hope you enjoy the book. So thank you very much. So the kind of dragons, I did kind of go with the dragons because I wanted some flying creatures, and I thought on one hand in Shadewood I want some technology, so there are flying machines in Shadewood, and on the other hand, if the non-technical people have got to counter flying machines, what are they going to be using? Well, they're going to be using flying creatures. Okay, so there was that sort of stuff. So that stuff's all kind of there. Super creepy. Yeah, I read through your blog a bit. The moon situation is a bit different as days, last week's. Okay, so if it's a tidally locked moon, that's slightly different because the moon will be in orbit around a planet, and the planet will then be in orbit around the star. My world is obviously a tidally locked world in orbit around the main star, in which case one side of the planet is always facing the star and one side isn't. So that can be that's quite an interesting scenario. So there we go. So Alan's quite right, a tidally locked moon does have night and day. In fact, we have a tidally locked moon in a certain anthology series, which Glenn will doubtless stick a link in the chat very, very shortly. Cue Glenn for 9 Streams of Consciousness, the anthology written by this very Twitch stream, featuring 9 authors and 14 stories, I think. There we go, Glenn's on the case. I knew he wouldn't miss a chance. Awesome. Alan's there as well. Good stuff. Broomsticks, that's another way to get around. Yes, no, so I didn't have magic. But there we are. So yeah, so I thoroughly recommend is not the right word. I'm just trying to think of what the right word is. I as homework, okay, for this stream, I do suggest that one of these set texts is Dragon Kingdom. All right. And I'd like you to come back and critique it for me. Okay, I think you'll find it a very educational experience. Completely unlike 9 Streams of Consciousness, which is actually epically good. Okay, so there we go. And like Avatar, flying blue natives against earthing flying machines. So yes, so Dragon Icon, that trope, if you like, of technology versus nature is a relatively common one, and I've used that in Shadewood, unashamedly so. So there is that sort of stuff too. Cannot find the budget for this film. IMDb used to have this info, so I thoroughly warn you about Dragon Kingdom. A disrecommend, something like that. So I'm going to have to do that, but so it looks like Knights of the Damned. If you want it to make sense, maybe Knights of the Damned has to come first, but it doesn't seem to imply that on the cover of the DVD. But there we go. So anyway, it was an experience. It was definitely an experience, and I think you will benefit from the experience as well. If only for the scantily clad Amazon ladies running around being angry at things. Knights of the Damned. So look at this. There we go. Knights of the Damned budget 6.3 million. Okay, now I know that isn't a lot of money in filmmaking terms, but Drew, please watch a better DVD next week. Well, actually, okay, so yeah, we've got a little bit of time. I don't mind waffling on a bit longer if you guys are happy to hang around. I did watch what's the new film I watched? Okay, the Tomorrow War. Okay, that was a new one, wasn't it? Now that one presumably is a massive super Hollywood budget. Okay, with who's the guy? Is it Chris Pratt? No, the other one. Yeah, it's Chris Pratt, the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, the Tomorrow War. I watched that the week before. Okay, now that must be a massive, big budget. Okay, film, right? Chris Pratt, he's not going to be cheap. So anyway, so the premise of this film, okay, so it's a science fiction film, right? Yeah, CGI budget way out there. Must have cost huge amounts of money. Classic summer blockbuster popcorn type film. Okay, Tomorrow War. So basically, the premise is here that there's an alien invasion. All right, that happens at some point in the future, right? And nice little twist. Okay, is that we lose? Yeah, we don't win. Okay, we lose against the aliens. They're better than we are, and basically, we're not winning the war. So, so the premise of the movie is that in order to beat the aliens, the people in the future time travel back to now, in order to recruit people from now to fight in a war in the future which we're currently losing. Okay. It's the premise of the film. So my first immediate question, the moment I get and for some reason the first contact between the future and the present happens at a football stadium because reasons. Anyway, my first question was, okay, hang on, wait. Okay, so we're losing, right? The tactical situation is grim in the future, but that's a generation away. Let's say 30 years. So wouldn't it be better, rather than getting us to come forward in time to the future where we're already on the back foot, to invest all of the next 30 years in ramping up our military capability so that we've got like maybe 10, 15, 100 times more military capability than we did actually have in the future in order to combat said alien menace when it actually does then manifest itself 30 years down the road. Because I'm pretty sure if we knew there was something threatening the entire planet and we had 30 years notice, we could actually probably do something about it. That's before, of course, you get into the whole timey-wimey messing about with the timeline stuff, which, of course, the film just glosses over. And then, but the odd thing about the film is then, well, we've sent, we're recruiting military types to go into the future. And then it sort of seems that we've sort of run out of military types, and so we're just recruiting basically any human who can hold a gun and sending them into the future with no training at all. Okay, so what are you? I'm a history teacher. Okay, well, here's a gun. Right, you're going into the future. When? In about an hour's time. Okay, what do I do when I get there? Shoot the alien dude things. But I don't know how to use a gun. That doesn't matter. Just get in there, fight. You'll be doing a good job. Go humanity. Like, what? This movie makes no sense at all. It's completely nonsensical plot. And the aliens are your usual. I think these aliens can fire spikes, which is quite good. But yeah, they're the usual aliens, like 10 times as fast as any human. Lots of claws, dismember you just there and then, sort of stab you to death, sort of kind of aliens. Fairly normal kind of Hollywood type aliens, really. And then predictably, lots and lots of people get dismembered and die. Lots of things get blown up. There's a quite nice little relationship thing, because the guy meets his daughter, who he last saw as a child, and then she's a grown woman in charge of the military when he meets her, and then she's really disappointed in how he turned out, but he hasn't lived that life yet, and so there's a nice sort of timey-wimey bit of a plot in the middle of that I thought was okay. And then it's a case of more blowing stuff up, and then oddly enough the movie seems to sort of come to an end about half an hour before the end of the film, and you're thinking, well, what's the last half an hour of the movie about? And then basically it's son and his estranged father basically have to get together and kind of gung-ho the alien. So they kind of go back in time to before where the aliens came out, and it turns out the aliens crashed in a spaceship many years before in what is the present. And so they're frozen in the ice in Russia. And the Americans discover this. So they Chris Pratt, bless him, tells the American, I don't know, FBI or NSA or whatever it is that's in charge of American Secret Service stuff. I'm not an expert on said thing. Basically, the aliens, the ones that are going to threaten us in the future with a complete planet-wide catastrophe, they're in Russia right now, and if we blow them up, then we can stop this war before it all happens. Great, you think? Yeah, well, that's obviously what you need to do. Whereas the top American kind of government person basically says, no, well, the Russians don't trust us. They'll never believe that. They'll never let us go and do things. So we can't, sorry. And you're kind of like, what? You're not even going to try? Anyway, so then basically Chris Pratt goes and gets his dad, who he's been estranged from, who happens to have a plane, a sort of, I don't know, it's not a particularly fast big plane, and they go from wherever they are in America, I don't know where they were in America, and they fly into Russia in an American civilian plane. You got like, I'm pretty sure that can't happen. Pretty sure if I took an American cargo plane and flew it into Russian airspace, I think something would happen long before I got anywhere near anything important. But anyway, that aside, Chris Pratt and Dad managed to do this. And they find an alien spaceship buried in the ice, and they have to inject it with a formula which kills them. But they've also brought along enough C4 to blow the thing to Kingdom Come. So for some strange reason, they don't use the explosive to start with. They go around trying to inject all the aliens to kill them. And then some of the aliens wake up and start chasing them. And then they thought, actually, no, let's detonate the C4 explosive anyway. And then they blow the spaceship to pieces. But of course, one escapes. So they actually have to have a mano fist fight with this alien, which, you know, dad and son get over their differences and bond at the end of the movie, and everything's, you know, here's your grandpa and here's your son and here's your daughter and everything's fine again. It's like what? It's like really stupid movie, but, you know, fun, you know, sort of popcorn, take your brain off the hook kind of way. And you're just thinking. So I don't know. Yes, I'm just going to go back and go through the chat because I was enjoying just taking the big out. Tomorrow War is getting a sequel, is it? Wow. Okay, so Tomorrow War film was made by Paramount Pictures for a theatrical release, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Paramount sold the film to Amazon Prime Video for $200 million. If they were losing in the future, then the travel back in time did not work, did it? I mean, they ignore that whole paradox problem. They don't even talk about it. Yeah, Glenn says, no one would believe you if you said in 30 years aliens will come and we have to be ready. Other than the kind of glowy, portally time thing that appears in the middle of the football pitch, I mean, that would raise a few eyebrows, I feel. So yeah, I suppose luckily that's a good point there. Is like, yeah, the way we're dealing with climate change. So if somebody from the future could come back and tell us, would it make any difference? Who knows? Yeah, why not just take the technological advancements back into the past? Says Electroraptor. That's a good point. Okay, so yeah, here's some cool technology from the future. We'll take it back to the past, get it developed even better, and then wait 30 years till we ramped up to full production. Too much action, not enough origin. How do they leave the plane? I understood that. That's right. Spoiler says Winnie 1974. Sorry about that. Oh no, I had to leave in between the Dragon movie, and now we're in Tomorrow as well. Yeah, so I thought we'd. You know, the thing is, money is clearly not the issue, is it? Here's the point. I suppose I'm trying to make in a really roundabout way. Is money is not the problem. Okay, so Dear Dragon Kingdom was a cheap B movie, maybe just a few million quid, okay, or pounds or dollars, whatever else. Now 2020, what was Tomorrow War was hundreds of millions of dollars, okay, and it's still got crap writing. So it's clearly not money. Is not the funny thing. Is what is it then? Is it making money? So, hand on heart, I can't see that 6.5 million quid was made back by this film. I'd be surprised. Has Tomorrow's War, you know, is it going to be financially successful? I suppose that's a question. It may well be financially successful because. You know, if it makes a big profit, enough people go and see Tomorrow War, despite all me complaining about the plot. Maybe that's good enough, maybe because it's just popcorn entertainment, and that's it. You know, we just want some Yahoo bang explosion, bang go kill the aliens, yeah, America kind of story. But I don't know. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a story with a plot one day? So, is that movie worse than Starship Troopers? No. So the Tomorrow, I mean, Starship Troopers was sort of, kind of almost a parody of itself, wasn't it? Starship Troopers is a very interesting film. Now, I suppose back when it first came out, was it seen as a classic? Because of course it is now, absolutely a classic. But was it when it first came out? I'm not sure. So I recommend reading the novel, says Wintermute. I haven't seen that yet. It wasn't shown on theatres, was it? No, I think I only got it on DVD. So well, they got 200 million from Amazon, so there we go. And maybe Amazon can sell a whole bunch of adverts in it. JN says, was it 6 million for the trilogy? 5 for the first one. I will let you know what Knights of the Damned is like. And this stream is just an Amazon Prime advert tonight. Apologies for that. I don't get to control what Twitch does with the adverts, I'm afraid. So I do apologise for what shows up there. So the day after the Tomorrow War. So Starship Troopers is genius, capturing the fascist spirit of the book. So yeah, so Starship Troopers has got an underlying tone to it, which is very good, and very clever. So yeah, so I don't know. It's clearly not just money, is it? The money is not the limiting factor here on terms of the actual good story. But what actually is. So I shall leave you with that. Next stream, Drew, sponsored by Amazon Prime, in association with Ben, whatever his name was. I'm gonna have to check that guy out. I might send him an email if I can find it. Loved your movie. Can we talk? How much did George pay you? That was Ben's movie. George is the guy. George is the character. So Danny Hogg says, the problem with Starship Troopers is they only had the SFX budget for the aliens and not the amazing power suit that featured. I haven't read the novel of Starship Troopers. I must do that. But Alan's quite right. Some fairly cheap films are very good. You can make a good film, and I could dare say you could probably make a good fantasy film if you acknowledge the restrictions you're working under. I wouldn't mind having a go. So there we go. Money to make films is not a problem, but to be honest, good stories are scarce. Hence, the remakes are good films and not the remakes are remakes. So Commander O'Connor, that's a good question. Now, I need to find a way of getting to talk to some of these people, I think. Saying, okay, I'm a writer. I can write you a better screenplay than the ones you got, or the ones you've been making recently. Hire me. Give me a try. Let's see what we can do. So maybe I need to have a go at trying to write a screenplay. I've never tried. Chair 1988 says, I've been had. Drew's just a shill for Ben Lloyd Holmes. Anyway, my friends, that's enough of this for tonight. So Tomorrow War is very much a good popcorn music. If you like gung ho kind of America saves the world sort of stuff with, and you don't mind, a summer action movie. Tomorrow War is as good as any other recent crop. I could recommend it. But I quite like Chris Pratt actually as an actor. I think that's quite good. If you want an object lesson in how not to make a fantasy film, I can thoroughly recommend, genuinely, Dragon Kingdom by Ben, what's his name? So that's an object lesson in how not to make a fantasy film. Go and use it as homework material. I think you'll find it very, very informative as well. So there we go. Just email Jeff Bozo. Yeah, I mean, he's got enough cash. I mean, he's been to space, hasn't he? So making a small film shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, my friends, be good. Have fun. Enjoy the films. And I will see you later on. For more rip-roaring reviews of things. So we've got a bit of No Man's Sky on Thursday as well, so hopefully back fun for that. So take care, my friends. Right on. Keep cranking out those really good stories and plot ideas, and shy away from all the issues that we've been talking about tonight, and you have a good time. But take care, my friends. Be good. We'll see you later on. Have a fantastic week ahead. Always take it easy, my friends. Bye now.